Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's Ag Report. So we are easing into December. We've been wet for several weeks now. Our pond has had water put back in it for the first time in over a year, so that's good to see. And you may be, driving around thinking, well, it's wet, everything's put to bed. What do you do all winter? You won't be planting till springtime. So I thought I'd kind of give this little glimpse of what does go on in the I guess some people call it the off season. It's really not an off season. There's always things to do, but I thought I'd kind of let you know what goes through our mind and what we are up to. So yes, most all crops were finished up. Cotton would be the last crop coming out. Last main crop coming out. Now there was just a couple of folks that did a double crop. There's still a little bit of milo standing over there by the elevator that they're trying to cut when the ground will hold them up. But that's a second crop. But for the most part, 99% of the crops were probably finished up in October, first part of November, something like that. Ground for the most part has been kind of laid by and set for spring tillage, that kind of stuff. So you may think, well, what do you do all winter? You just kind of sit around and look at the stars, look at the farmer's almanac. Well, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. Whether you're a farmer or a rancher, you're always, I guess, kind of self-critiquing, looking back at how things went the previous year, how you can do things better the next year, whether that be with animal husbandry and health, or genetics in your herd, or whether that be genetics in your crops, or maybe your tillage tools or your planter or something like that. There's always something that we always kind of look back on and think of how we can improve. Now, the industry, they look at that as well. So in the off months, you have equipment dealers, you have seed dealers, you have genetic, folks, breeders that are reaching out and saying, hey, this last year, we had sugarcane aphids, in the milo and in the Sudan. And so we noticed in our test plots that this variety was naturally resistant to the sugarcane aphids. And so that's where a lot of that information comes from in the off season as we are thinking about planting for the next year. Or maybe it's a breeder that's like, well, we noticed during the drought this year, we had extreme drought, extreme heat, that the genetics out of this particular bull and this particular cow still weaned a good calf. And so they have gatherings and things like that to showcase what they have learned from the years past. We also, all of us, whether you have new equipment or old equipment, you have things that you were putting off trying to get through the year, whether that be an oil leak or radiator leak or, sensors gone bad or different things like that. You were trying to get through and then fix it on a rainy day. We've had a couple of weeks of rainy days now, and so we're in the shops trying to fix things, or we're taking it to mechanics to have them fix things. So I mentioned about improving things, and you may think, well, how do you go about that? Well, there's a whole lot of ways to go about it now, but the important thing is that you keep in mind your area, okay, your bubble, if you want to call it that, because that's very important as far as your soil type and whether it's a black clay or a little bit of a loam down around Avalon, that kind of stuff. So when you're looking to improve, let's say you're looking to improve your tillage equipment, okay, or your planter. It's very easy now to go online to see videos about different products and upgrades. We all talk about upgrading our phones and that kind of stuff. Well, there's upgrade parts that we can do to our planners that help for specific things. But we've got to look at those and find some reports of how they did in our area with our soil and our soil moisture, because the things that they use, say in Illinois, may or may not work well in our area because their soil is different than ours. So that's where test plots come into play and looking at test data from your area. All of this is why the American farmer from 1950 has gone from feeding about 25 people to feeding over 160 people now. It's because of this constant yearning for improvement, to do better, to learn from the trials that we had this year, whether it was water or lack of water or different things like that, to do better going next year. And so that's kind of what your folks in agriculture, whether they are in the producing side or whether they are in the product side, that's what's kind of going on. It's a meeting of the minds through the wintertime of what products are coming out that will be available for next year, how they may help us. And to be honest, it's a little bit of a guessing game, because you don't know if it's going to be a wet year next year or a dry year next year. We hope for something kind of in the middle, to just make it a good year, all the way around. But those are the things that kind of go through the minds, and when you go around, if you may be going by the extension office and you see just a ton of pickups sitting around there, and you think, well, what in the world is going on there? That could be a CEU course that Mark Arnold is putting on, because we also have to continuing education on there for our licenses to buy different products, crop aids and stuff like that. So anyways, just give you a little glimpse there of, even though it's wet and even though it's wintertime, there's still a lot going on out there in the countryside. So hopefully this will kind of let you know what your farmers and ranchers are up to. Y'all take care now.